Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch. I think there has been a gradual realisation over the last few years that Seiko are moving their mid-tier stuff, the kind of Prospex and Presage, up in terms of price, but you don't necessarily get any more for your money than you used to. There have been various signs of this. The SARB being discontinued a few years ago, fantastic value watch. They replaced the 6-arm movement in the cocktail time with a 4-arm movement. They then chopped the Alpinist only to bring it back for more money, and it's essentially the same watch. And last year they discontinued the legendary SKX, replacing it with a watch that had the movement we all wanted, but it didn't have the water resistance. I mentioned this a couple of times. I think therefore if you are looking for a mid-tier Seiko Prospex dive watch, you should be looking backwards. You should be looking to what they were releasing a couple of years ago before all this price restructuring came into effect. Basically, you should be looking at a Turtle or the Samurai. Now this is my second bite of the Samurai. I reviewed JP's a couple of years ago, but I bought one for myself last year, so I thought I would give it a re-review today. Let's flip the camera and do just that. So if I'm telling you that there's value to be had in the Samurai, then it makes sense to start with the prices. I reckon eBay's the way to go with these ones. I had a good look around today, $250 on the rubber strap. It's a really good rubber strap, by the way, if that's your thing. Personally, I'm a bracelet guy, $275. You can get your pick of the different colorways if you're not that fussed. Save the Oceans one for $275. That looks like a good deal to me. Orange one, likewise, $275 USD. If you're in Australia, Amazon.com.au have got them for $417 at the moment. They had them under $300. There are some bargains with these ones because it's an older model. If you're prepared to bide your time, I would also check starbuy.com.au if you're in Oz. $430 at the moment. They had them at $330 not so long ago. I bought this one from a local jeweler last year. As such, I got the full 3-year warranty. You'll probably only get 1 year if you're buying on Amazon or eBay, so do bear that in mind. I paid $425 Aussie for it at the time, which comes in at about that $275 USD. That's it in an SKX sandwich for a quick and easy size comparison. It is a chunky one, the Samurai, though. Perhaps it's just a bit too chunky for me. There is a kind of workaround, I reckon, which I'll talk about later on, but definitely you get plenty of watch for your $275 US dollars. 43.5mm in diameter, though it should be noted with the Samurai that crosshatch bezel does protrude just a little bit from the case. You can see, particularly on this side, the whole case does angle down a little bit. Bang on 13mm thick, but typical Seiko, 48mm lug to lug. So even though it's a big bulky diameter, watch this one, it's a relatively compact lug to lug at only 48. 22mm lug widths, there's a whiff of taper down to about 20, back up to 21.5 for the clasp. Sized up for me, 7-inch wrist, this is just about perfect. I'll probably take it in a little bit there. This one weighs in at 189 grams. So like I said, there's plenty of heft on offer from the Samurai. 316L case, crown, bezel and bracelet. I think one of the reasons why the Samurai weighs in at 180 plus is because it's actually a half decent bracelet, unlike the cheaper Seikos. Solid links, solid end links. Now they're kind of faux 3-link here. They're just single links, as you can probably see clearly from the back. And there is a good, well, good for Seiko anyway. It's still pressed, but it's not too bad. Double security fold over, Seiko stamp there, plenty of micro adjust. And there's a diver's extension here. Now this one is still a little bit fresh. I haven't been using the diver's extension all that often myself, as I am incapable of swimming, let alone diving. But there it is, you can pop that one over a wetsuit with ease. You're probably well aware of this, but Seiko don't refer to this watch as the Samurai. It is the Seiko fanboys that have christened it such. Mostly because of the distinct sword-like hands, and aren't they just super legible, these ones? The black against the orange, that's why I went for the orange colourway, not just because it was a little bit cheaper than all the others, of course, but because of that supreme legibility. Black and orange, I do like the bezel insert on this one. It's only aluminium, there is a Loom pip up there at the 12 o'clock, 120 click, unidirectional. Really, if you have twisted one Seiko bezel, you've pretty much twisted them all, but it's nice and firm, no backplay, no bounce, pretty good stuff for the price. You don't get Sapphire Crystal covering that pretty dial though. At this price though, you have to spend a lot more from Seiko to get a piece of sapphire. This is Hardlex, their own proprietary mineral crystal. It's allegedly better than other mineral crystals, but it will still scratch and scuff if you treat it roughly, and you can't polish it out because it's not acrylic, so it's that kind of awkward in between. But if you are using this as a hardcore dive watch, you're less likely to shatter it if you wallop it against a rock. One other pretty distinctive feature of the Samurai, apart from that sword-shaped handset, is the case, and it's all about the angles on the Samurai. I think a number of micro brands, Zelos included, have received inspiration, shall we say, from this model for a number of theirs. Now, semi-guarded crown here. The crown is knurled, very easy to grip, unsigned, which at $300 is a bit of a letdown, but we do have drilled lugs here if you do want to swap this out for a rubber strap or on and off the bracelet on a fairly regular basis. That certainly helps with that. All brush finish throughout this one, and it is quite nicely finished as well, and a reasonably integrated bracelet, which is always a bit of a relief. Also a brush finish on the bracelet here, and I showed you that clasp and divers extension earlier. And I think it is one of the more attractive Seiko dials, this one. It all kind of works for me anyway. I wouldn't say that these indexes were applied, but they are certainly raised. They're perhaps embossed or kind of punched through from the back. Seiko logo just printed on there under that index at 12. The Prospex X, because this is one rung up, it's part of that Prospex tier of watches, automatic and divers 200 meters. So this one, again, like the SKX, is a proper ISO certified 200 meter rated dive watch. And even though this isn't a J model, this is a K model out of the Malaysian factory, I reckon that chapter ring is pretty good in terms of alignment. We've got a date complication at the 3 o'clock. I think a white date wheel works well on this model, and the handset definitely worthy of a bit of macro here. I really do like the hands on this one a lot. Loom is something you can expect to be a standout on a Seiko diver at this price point, and this Samurai does not disappoint. Loomy Bright, their own proprietary loom, plenty of real estate on the dial, those big indices, the hands, and that little loom pip there. The loom pip goes first, but in terms of everyday practicality, it's excellent. Quick look at what I think is one of the nicer Seiko casebacks at the price. The old Seiko Wave in the middle there, Prospex X, Air Divers 200 meters, once again confirming this one is ISO certified, stainless steel, and you can just about make out there 4R35 movement Japan. 4R35 NH35, I must have looked at 150 of them on the channel by now. They really are everywhere at this price point, and with good reason. They're usually pretty solid and reliable. Hovering around the 0 there, which is a pretty good result. Amplitude's healthy. Beat error a little higher than I would have liked, but nothing too outlandish. 24 dual, hacking and hand winding, bi-directional winding from the rotor as well, so you don't get that wobble on the wrist. Reasonable service interval, but when I say service, I reckon most watchmakers would just put it in the bin and pop a fresh one in the back instead. So the on-paper specs, the value equation, I think from the Samurai at under $300 US is really pretty solid. It then comes down to if you like the look and if you like the way that it wears on wrist. As I said, 48mm lug to lug, but it does look like a big watch, and those kind of angular looks, it's kind of the polar opposite of the Turtle. The Turtle is all about the curves. This one is all about the angle. So I guess depending on which of the two you go for visually, that's the one that you should buy. It is quite an interesting watch though, I think, as a consequence, as a result of all of those angles. The Samurai wears well, but you do notice 180 grams. And check the legibility on the proper overhead shot there, just fantastic with those black surrounded white hands, white indices all against the orange dial. Super, super easy to read. And that's it outside. You don't get any anti-reflective coating on the underside of the Hardlex for your $275, but the inherent ultra legible dial design doesn't make it all that difficult to read, even in sunlight. On wrist, as I said, the angular case, really it's up to you whether you go for this one or this Turtle. I think they're pretty similar in terms of the value equation. When I do the wrist roll here, maybe you'll notice that those links, there's just a little high polished edge on the middle of the center part of them as well, adding another touch of visual interest here. And you're not going to forget you put this one on, considering it's bright orange. And because the Samurai is a well-established model now, there are plenty of aftermarket parts available for you if you want to mod them. Loom ceramic bezel inserts, Sapphire Crystal options from the likes of Crystal Times and DLW. If you want to get radical, you can change the handsets on these as well. Strap Code do different bracelet options, as do Uncle Seiko. Personally, I've been sniffing around the Crafter Blue website, eyeing up one of these fitted straps. I think that would take this one down closer to 100 grams, and that's always been a more wearable weight for me personally. So a solid and somewhat sensible choice then, this Seiko Samurai. Not exactly a spec monster with aluminium insert and Hardlex crystal, pressed clasp. If you want to go the micro brand route and pick yourself up a Zelos or a Helm for similar money, you'll get Sapphire, you'll get a better bracelet. But if you want that Seiko and the Prospex X on the dial, then I think this one makes an awful lot of sense, especially given the way that things are moving with Seiko generally. So there you have it, the Seiko Samurai. If you want to watch with that Prospex X on your wrist, I reckon the Seiko Samurai is the way to go. Definitely one of the best value for money Seiko watches that I've looked at, between $250 and $350 US. Nicely made, it's a good looking thing. I just wish it was a wee bit smaller for me personally. It's a bit too chunky. Perhaps I will investigate one of those Crafter Blue fitted straps. Maybe that would take a bit of weight off and mean that it really hugs to my wrist nicely. Thanks for watching. I will see you soon.